Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. First of all, uh, I hope you're all doing well and everything is going smoothly. In today's video, we'll be covering one of the most challenging types of questions in listening section, which is multiple choice questions, as you can see. In this video, our plan includes first of all challenging you a little bit before you get to learn a little bit about strategies, because this type of listening is actually deemed to be difficult because it requires understanding, and which is a skill only to be developed by listening. So first, I will ask you to work on some tasks. Then I will also give you some tips which I've already prepared. Then I will also give some advice and task on these tips in order to enhance your testing skills. Now, if we can start, first of all, I want you guys to understand something. One of the most important skills that you'll need, doesn't matter whether you're solving multiple choice questions or like section 4 or any other part. It's just important to be able to tell which place the speaker is talking about, and it's regardless of the type of question, it's also quite essential to find out when some question has already been said or a new question has arrived. So let's work on that skill, and I think when I ask you to do it like practically, you'll understand what I mean more clearly. So let's choose some random one, like here. It became Inter 12. It's just time to find some multiple choice question. Then we'll be listening. Here, section 2, right? So I'm not like reading any type of question. I'm just gonna ask you to tell me when some question starts and ends. So first of all, we'll be listening attentively. That's an important factor. Focus is one of the most important things in listening if you want to score anything higher than 7 or 7.5. So after we start, I want you guys to listen and tell me like, oh, one question has finished, another question has come with certain reasons. And
Section 2.
advantages and disadvantages parts of this video lesson is like, actually I cannot hear what you're saying, and I cannot check what you think of clearly. But if you haven't found the answer, one of the most advantageous parts of watching a video lesson is that you can always go back and listen again. So let's try. It starts from like 45 seconds here. So
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
So after some time passes, the answer has been already revealed. I pause and I'll explain. By the time I explain, please make sure you all have already found the clue that some question has started or finished. Otherwise, just go back.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Joy Parkins, and I'm the restaurant manager. And I understand that none of you have had any previous experience as kitchen assistants. Well, you might be feeling a bit nervous now, but most of our kitchen assistants say they enjoy the work. Okay, they might get shouted at sometimes, but it's nothing personal, and they're pleased that they have so many different things to do, which means they never get bored. And I'll tell you straight away that if you do well, we might think about moving you up and giving you some more responsibility. Right, well,
That's all. The first question has finished because she was introducing about the job. Besides, she was talking about the advantages and benefits of working in the restaurant and or kitchen or whatever it is. Um, the point is, after just talked about two things about that their employees enjoy and one thing that the new staff can benefit from, that's already like three answers, and that means the question is already finished. And then the woman said right, so she wants to move on to the next point, which means now it is time to understand that they've passed to the second question. If you have, that's great of you. Congratulations. If you haven't understood this, so far, please work on your listening skills more. Now let's just find one or two more questions, like beginning and ending, and we'll continue with our
you've
instructions.
all shown up on time, which is an excellent start. Now, I'm glad to see none of you have unsuitable footwear, so that's
I'm really sorry about the call. Now let's do it from a little
time,
beginning.
which is an excellent start. Now, I'm glad to see none of you have unsuitable footwear, so that's good. You need to be careful as the floors can get very wet and slippery. Those of you with long hair have got it well out of the way, but some of you'll need to remove your rings and bracelets. Just put them somewhere safe for today. And remember to leave them at home tomorrow, as they can be a safety hazard. Now, it's
So the next question is also finished because she started talking about what she liked about the conditions of the new staff, or like how they prepared for the work in terms of their appearance. Like they all turned out at the time. That's one answer. So they are not late. Probably, I'm not sure. And the second thing is like they're all wearing the suitable footwear because the place can be quite wet and slippery. And the next thing is like they have their hair, already, you know, I don't know, organized or combed, or like I don't know how girls call it, like put back. Mm? And the last one was like they have some bracelets or some rings, some jewelry, and they should make sure that and they shouldn't bring it tomorrow the next time because there can be some kind of safety hazards, she said. So there are like three things that have already mentioned that have already been mentioned about the same thing, which means our question is about what is she worried about, and our answers is like two positive, one negative. So probably the negative one, which means about that jewelry, is the answer. I'm not teaching anything. Just that's one of the skills that you can use. Like I will, come back to this what I did a little bit later. Now let's just find out when the next one
going to
finishes.
be a busy day for you all today. We don't have any tables free for this evening and only a few for lunch. Fortunately, we've got our head chef back. He was away on holiday all last week, which meant the other chefs had extra work. Now, I'll tell you a bit more about the job in a minute, but first, some general
So, as you might have already heard, she started talking about the busy day that they're going to have, and finished talking about it. So I paused. She started talking about another thing, which means that question is already finished. So she talked about the chef and like reservations. So that's what it is. Um, this is the first skill that you need to know. Like you need to be able to separate the listening into parts, like being relevant to some certain question, and it's gonna be really helpful when you see the test. Like you will know, like, they are now talking about 11. I see. Now they've passed to the 12, so I should be more careful. And now they've come to the 13. That's the saying. Blah blah. Um, that's how you need to solve. Now, but if you're already attentive enough, you might have already got some answers. For example, according to the information that we have heard, the kitchen staff, people really like the, what do we say? The different things they get to do, they said. So A is probably an answer. But the friendly atmosphere, it's not a friendly atmosphere because you might be sometimes shouted at. That means people can scream at you. That's not a good thing, like yelling. That's not a sign of being friendly. And opportunities for promotion, they said if you work well, you might get a chance to get promoted. So that's not what's going to happen either. It's only in certain occasions. So which means B and C incorrect, so A is correct. So what I want to show here is like if you can understand and like the listening, you don't need the question or the answer. You can just what do we say? Start analyzing on your brain like, this is the question. This is one of the alternatives that they are providing to trick me, and I shouldn't be trapped by this answer, and that's probably going to be an answer. Now the next one, the manager is concerned about some of the new staff, which, as I've already mentioned, they made their hair normally, and they have nice shoes that that's not so much slippery. So the only thing that she's worried about is jewelry. I've already mentioned about it, because the woman warned them not to bring the next time and put away for today. What about 13? It's a public holiday which hasn't been mentioned. The head chef is absent. He was absent, but he came back, fortunately. So B is not an answer. The restaurant is almost fully booked. That's probably an answer too, because they were fully booked for the morning and nearly fully booked for the afternoon. So this is how how you can solve even without looking at the questions or answers. I don't mean to say you should do so. It's just a challenge, to improve your listening skills, which gives us the first strategy about solving multiple choice questions. In order to solve multiple choice questions, you should understand word by word. Um, you know, um, it is easy for people to be misled and like to not to be able to understand and like still have some difficulties in this part of the question, because there is a lot that they're going to hear about. They feel like, oh, I heard about A, is it A? Oh, I heard about B, is it B? Now they mentioned it's C too, so which one am I going to choose? Or they may not even understand, like, oh, what are they talking about? Which question is it about? So in order to like make things easier, two ways which I've already showed you is going to be really helpful. First of all, just as I said, start to understand when some question starts and ends. Uh, and this is pretty easy. It's like they start talking about something, give a little information, then they start talking about the next thing, give a little information, and if things are related, which means they are about the same question. If things finish to be related, or like their relation is already broken, which means they've passed to the next question. And our second strategy, the first strategy, the major strategy, is the most important one. So to understand word by word, let's give it a try. Now we have only one question left, so let's just understand it. Please, I'm gonna play it once. If you have understood word by word, try to tell me, like, or yourself, like what you understood. Otherwise, just play back.
Regulations. For all of you, whatever your age, there's some equipment you mustn't use until you've been properly trained, like the waste disposal system, for example, for health and safety reasons. Then I think there are two of you here who are under 18. That's Emma and Jake, isn't it? Right, so for you two, the meat slicer is out of bounds. And of course, none of you are allowed to use the electric mixer until you've been shown how it works. Now, you may have heard.
That's all. One question is finished. Because as I said, she started explaining that her next question is about what people can and cannot use. And what she said first, like, is about everyone. So everyone, no matter what your age, cannot use until you are properly trained the waste disposal. That means like the system which takes out the garbage. Until you are properly trained. The next thing she was talking about was about two, Jack and Emma, if I'm not mistaken about the names, two teenagers who are underage, that means under 18. They for their own safety reasons, they cannot use the meat slicer. To slice means to cut. Meat slicer means like meat cutter, which means it's like sharp, logically. And the third thing is like nobody can use the electrical equipment until they are shown how to use it. So which means two things is about everyone. Well, only one thing is about two people, which means our answer is about those two people who are underage, because logically at the same time there cannot be two the same answers. If you know what I mean. So, which means our next question is about what under 18, like children cannot use. And the answer is probably the meat slicer. Let's see that. 1 second. Here it is. Only kitchen staff who are 18 or older are allowed to use, which means the under 18 cannot use. As we said, the waste disposal unit for everyone. Meat slicer, as we've said, that's an answer. Electric mixer is about everyone. So A and B crossed out, C is the answer. This is how you need to deal with tests. Just try to understand word by word. Then you'll be sure about your answers, and there'll not be any problem. Now, this is just a brief, technique to work on your listening comprehension. Now it is time to have some, strategies. Now, another way to deal with this type of question, which was actually suggested by a renowned fellow colleague of mine, whose course writing marathon I also partook in, is like Diorbeck. He, if you guys seen him, he's a 8.5 band holder who works in Tashkent that owns his own language center. The point is, it really struck me when I heard about his his way of dealing with these multiple choice questions, because I've never heard about it, or like thought about it in this way or something. So it might be helpful for some people, because our point is to help the majority just find your own way and like start working on it. So why not talk about his way? I'm not so much sure about what he does, but I've just read his, like one of posts in which he said that he just reads the questions and takes notes and try to make sense of it. That would be a nice, like way for two reasons. And the first reason is like in multiple choice questions, question is the most important thing. Sorry. Which means we only need the question. And the second, I said understand word by word. That means you have, he's saying after understanding word by word, like in order not to forget, let's just take notes. But another thing I would like to mention here is like, should I take the note of everything? Actually, no. Take a note of the thing that answers the question. Then you will not be so much misled about all your notes, and you will not be, even if you have forgotten what some note means or refers to, you will not be, so much confused because you will not actually have to take notes about everything. So let's try with another test, which means first we need to, here, we need to just copy the question. 1 second. Don't need, it's not like copyable, so I'll just write what will be the main topic of Trudy's and Stewart's paper. Let's just write what will be the main topic of Trudy and Stewart's. Maybe I spelled incorrectly, but it doesn't matter because it's just a name, paper. So that's all. Let's just use his style for once. I just copied the question. He says like, that's what you need to do. Do not look at A, B, C at all. He says like, just erase them in your mind. Like imagine that there is nothing here, A, B, C. There is just a question. So our focus will be 100% on the question. Then like just start taking notes. And what is the main thing in the question is the main topic, right? That's all. We just need to hear and take some notes. So section 3, right?
Section 3. Now listen carefully.
OK, Stuart, we need to start planning our paper on public libraries. Have you thought of an angle yet?
Well, there's so much we could look into. How libraries have changed over the centuries, for instance, or how different countries organise them. What do you think, Trudy?
Maybe we should concentrate on this country and try and relate the changes in libraries to external developments, like the fact that far more people can read than a century ago, and that the local population may speak lots of different languages.
We could include something about changes in the source of funding too.
Yes, but remember we're only supposed to write a short paper, so it's probably best if we don't go into funding in any detail.
Right. Well, shall we just brainstorm a few ideas to get started?
OK.
So now that's like how this process works. They first start talking about how libraries change and how different countries organize their libraries. And if I give you one stupid logic, it's like one person Trudy talking about two of them in a single sentence, and my logic says like two things cannot be the answer at the same time, like because literally they cannot be, because you cannot mark two answers. Then this is going to be an answer, and the girl actually suggested like let's just focus on this country, which means I need to choose about the country, only a single country, the UK, for example, then how changes related to the I don't know, country's economy or like country's changes throughout development and stuff. So according to my notes, this is the answer. Just according to my notes, I didn't write everything. As you can see, I just took notes. Now let's just see the question and find out if we have got the point. How libraries services are organized in different countries. So different countries I wrote organized, which means it's not an answer. How changes in society are reflected in public libraries. Changes relate to countries, so this is the answer most probably. How the funding of libraries has changed. As the girl said, sorry, I didn't write about this one, but if you have heard, the fundings, they didn't want to be so much into that because it's just not their focus and it's going to be a short presentation. Which means this is how we need to do. And maybe I missed one, so maybe let's try for the next one. They agree that one disadvantage of free digitalized books is that. All right, let's just write the next question. They agree that one disadvantage of free digitalized books is that. Alright, that's all. Now the main word here that I need is the disadvantage. Now I just should start taking notes. I'm gonna skip a little bit back in case it has passed a little bit. So
Right.
just let's listen.
Well, shall we just brainstorm a few ideas to get started?
OK. We obviously need to look at the impact of new technology, particularly the internet. Now that lots of books have been digitalised, people can access them from their own computers at home.
And if everyone did that, libraries would be obsolete.
Yes.
But the digitalised books that are available online for free are mostly out of copyright, aren't they?
Yes.
But the digitalised books that are available online for free are mostly out of copyright, aren't they? And copyright in this country lasts for 70 years after the author dies. So you won't find the latest bestseller or up-to-date information.
That's an important point. Anyway, I find it hard to concentrate when I'm reading a long text on a screen. I'd much rather read a physical book. And it takes longer to read on a screen.
Oh, I prefer it. I suppose it's just a personal preference.
I expect the libraries will go on evolving in the...
So I think my note-taking skills is worse than my remembering skills. So people have different abilities. Some people just can take notes faster. Looks like I'm not the one. So difficult to. Sorry, let me take notes. Read takes time. Not according to him. Up to personal preferences. So this is what they said. I think the woman started by talking about the books are being digitalized, and the man continued her speech by saying that if all books start becoming digitalized, the libraries would be not working. Think of that. That's what the expression they said, probably. But that's not going to be a problem according to the man, because the copyright lasts for 70 years. What does copyright mean? Which means like publicly it will not be available until 70 years passes after the author writes that thing or dies or something like that. And the girl which means the problem is you cannot find any modern book, within 70 years. You can only find, like digital books, digital version of books that of the past. So that's a problem, disadvantage. Um, and the girl also talk about the disadvantage. It's like a long test. It's difficult for her to read, and it takes time, and like maybe I don't know, like it gives her eye pain too. But the man didn't agree, and this is the part we need. We need the agreeing part, which means this is not an answer. And he said maybe it's up to personal preferences. So our answer is about like latest books. Let's just see. They agree that one disadvantage of free digitalized books is that they may take a long time to read. That's according to the woman, which means it's just according to her, not both of them. They can be difficult to read. Again, that's according to the woman. They're like not according to the like man. Like he can easily do it. And they are generally old. That's an answer because cannot find like latest books that are available. So this is how his brain way works. If you've understood, you just need to not pay attention to ABC and like only take some important notes, then decide upon them which answer can be a correct answer. But now, what is the actual, like full methodology involved in dealing with this type of question? Here, I think I also, wrote some questions so that you can take up some notes. Now, but for what should we need to follow? What do we need to follow if you want to find all the answers and still be sure 100% at the same time? So, my way, I don't know, like explicit way, suggests the following. Again, the most important rule is to understand word by word, but apart from that, first of all, the questions. I mean the questions, not like question. And what does that mean? And just it's like you don't have to read the answers. You only need to read questions for two reasons. Like here, when the group meets at the airport, they will have. Then I'm reading 12. The group will meet at Munich airport by. How much will they pay per night for a double room at the hotel? What type of restaurant will they go to on Tuesday evening? Who will they meet on Wednesday afternoon? So I just read the questions, not answers. And what is the second, process? Second step in our process? Sorry. This thing is like in the same like window, and I'm just definitely getting confused. Now I need to paraphrase it and find the most important word in each question. Come on. So it's like after they arrive, I land, and I don't know, on an airplane. Then they meet each other. They're going to eat. So that's how I'm. What do we say? Paraphrasing. And what's the most important word here? I think for me it's like the meet at the airport, which means the exact time that I need is the meeting time. And the group will be met at Munich airport by. So in other words, if I want to paraphrase for myself to better understand it, is who will welcome them, right? Or by whom will they be welcomed? And I think Munich airport is a keyword, and the most important thing is meet. And how much will they pay per night for a double room at the hotel? So it's like what is the cost of staying in a double room per night at this hotel? It's a particular hotel that they're staying. And what is the most important thing? I think double room, because they may talk about different rooms. And what type of restaurant will they go on Tuesday evening? So where are they going to dine on Tuesday evening? Probably, just paraphrased version. And I think the most important part is Tuesday evening. And who will they meet on Wednesday afternoon? It's like, whom are they going to, like get to see or get to meet on Wednesday afternoon? Some kind of famous person, I think. So then the most important thing is again time is the afternoon. So why do I need to follow these steps? Because there is a reason, like logical reason. I haven't moved on to the answers yet. I'm just working on the question. Why? Because the question is the most important thing in multiple choice. It's like if you've understood the question, you've gotten at least 60% of the meaning, and like you're more likely to find the answer. So what you're going to need is like with paraphrasing. Actually, the purpose of paraphrasing is actually to clarify yourself what the question actually means to you, so that you can be sure that you understand that thing. And finding the most important part is like to improve your focus and to know when the answer will be told clearly. For example, as I said, like when they talk about going landing on the airport and a meeting, that's all they're going to speak about the answer. Or when they start talking about the Munich airport, or before or after it, or like double room, as I said, or Tuesday evening or Wednesday afternoon. So this is how things work for here. Come on. And the next thing, I've found keywords already. Sorry, I've already done that, and I need to predict some answers just for fun. Why? Because it helps me understand the question better. It's not to depend your answer on prediction. It's not like even marking anything. It's just like logic a little bit, because it will help you. Because if you thought in a certain way and they talk about something different, even if they do, you'll understand like, this is the difference between my thought and their thought. So you will understand it much more easily. For example, I think they are going to arrive in the airport like not in the morning, so it's not going to be breakfast for me. Like probably lunch is not like you're not going to have some lunch at the airport. Yeah, I think you would go to somewhere normally fancy place, because we are traveling. You know what I mean? So I would probably go for the answer coffee. It's just my prediction. I have no clue. I really don't know. I'm just making some logical answer. And the group will be met by employee at the National Theatre, a theatre manager, a tour operator. So I wouldn't say a theatre manager, because the manager wouldn't, I think, personally go to them to welcome. Employee kind of is possible. A tour operator is also possible, but I think the more logical answer is tour operator, because they are going to have a tour as long as as they come to the city. So that's just an answer. And for this one, I just want to try my luck. I want to go for 120, because it's what is in the middle. Not so cheap, not so expensive. Italian, Lebanese, typical restaurant of the region. Oh, come on. This also up to luck. Just kind of trying to predict. So Italian. I want to go with Italian. And who will they meet on Wednesday afternoon? An actor, a playwright, a theater director. I wouldn't say a theater director because I don't know. It's not so much interesting for me to meet with the director. It's like maybe I have a negative perspective about directors or thing. If it would be a famous actor or a playwright, I think it's easier. So A or B. I may be wrong. I may be completely wrong, but that's the fun part. You will know when you're wrong. Let's just listen. Then, oh come on. What is the next thing? I need to find the most important parts, and as our answers were just short here, I don't actually have to do it because they are short. But if the answers were longer, I would have to do it. I should have found the like most important parts of the question, and then I must have been aware of some synonyms and antonyms to paraphrase. Now it's time for listening. So while listening, what should I do? I should just pay attention to whatever is being said, then wait for changes. What does wait for changes mean? Because they may start talking positively about something, like giving you implying to you that may be an answer, and start completely talking about the opposite. So you should be aware of the words like but, however, no, although, would, if, like all those unreal things and tenses. They would change the meaning. And you need to cross out incorrect answers because, most often finding an incorrect answer is much easier than finding the correct answer. Just as long as they say don't or like is not or something like a negative, we rarely, it's just to cross out that answer. And another thing you need to pay attention is like answers are explained, not just told. And what does it give us? It means like they will talk more about the answer. They will, give the reasons why, where, and like how. They'll justify their answer. So it's more like I would actually ask you to understand, but if you haven't understood, you could probably go for the answer which has been talked more about. Now, before we listen, you also need to be aware of this. So there are only 3 ways that they may try to trick you. So as long as you know what it means, like there is no way you can be tricked. So they can talk about 2 incorrect answers. So as long as you hear that they are 2 incorrect, just cross them out. And before, like even they finish, you can find out what is the correct answer because like 2 plus 1 is 3. So that's how it goes. It's easy. A strategy is quite, like if they use the A method, that's quite easy to deal with. And the next one is a little more challenging. They will tell the correct answer, they'll tell one incorrect answer, and they will, not talk about the third answer at all. Because, this is the challenge that they will give you. At least if you are trying my way, because you will have to know what has been mentioned and what hasn't been mentioned. And if you can cross out what hasn't been mentioned, you will also have to cross out what is incorrect. But as I said, if you understand, you can find what is correct even while listening. And the third way is like a little bit more difficult because they will not speak about 2 other answers. They'll just tell you the answer, but they'll tell it quickly. So, which means if you understood it, it's your luck. If you didn't, it's just against your luck. So, don't work against yourself. Just try to understand. If you've understood, this is like what we are going to do while listening. But if you haven't, I would kindly ask you to, go back and follow the steps as I explain. Now, let's put it into practice. First of all, which test is it? Test 6. section 2, right? Let's solve it. Task 6, section 2. Make sure
Section 2.
you just mark while the answers
You
are
will
being
hear a
told.
man talking to a group of people about a tour of theatres in the city of Munich in Germany that he has arranged for them.
I'm gonna take some notes so that you will understand.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Right. I've now almost succeeded in finalising plans for our tour, so I'll bring you up to date with what I know. As you know, we're flying first to Munich on Monday the 4th. The flight is at 11:30, so it's too early to have lunch at the airport. I suggest we meet there for coffee at 10. Which should give us plenty of time for breakfast before we leave home. When we arrive in Munich, we'll be met at the airport by Klaus Bauer. Klaus works for a tour operator, and he'll look after us for the time we'll be in Germany. He's already liaised with the managers of the theatres we're going to visit, and he's also arranged for an officer of the National Theatre in Munich to show us round the theatre one afternoon during our stay. Now, last time we discussed this trip, I didn't have the precise cost for hotel rooms, but now I have. The normal rate at the hotel where we're staying is €150 a night for a double room. I'd hoped to get that down to €120, but in fact I've been able to negotiate a rate of 110. That'll be reflected in the final payment, which you'll need to make by the end of this week. On Tuesday, the day after our arrival, I had hoped we could sit in on a rehearsal at one of the theatres, but unfortunately that's proved very difficult to arrange. So instead, we'll have a coach trip to one of the amazing castles in the mountains south of Munich. On Tuesday evening, we'll all have dinner together in a restaurant near our hotel. From talking to you all about your preferences, it was clear that a typical local restaurant would be too meat-oriented for some of you. Some of you suggested an Italian restaurant, but I must confess that I decided to book a Lebanese one, as we have plenty of opportunities to go to an Italian restaurant at home. On Wednesday afternoon, the director of the play we're going to see that evening will talk to us at the theatre. She'll describe the whole process of producing a play, including how she chose the actors, and, as the play we're going to see is a modern one, how she worked with the playwright.
Before you hear the rest of the talk,
So, if you guys marked the answers, found the answers, it's really good. And I'm really glad if our way helped or it didn't. But I must, warn you that it's, as I said, time-consuming process, which requires you to improve your listening understanding first. So, once we come to what has been, told and solving this part, I must say I wanted to take notes, but I don't know, like this writing had so much of a small size letters, so maybe that's not visible for you, but I tried to just put plus and minus so that you wouldn't just get an answer or something. So, as I said, it's about the time when they meet the airport. When they meet the airport will be 11, and it's too early for lunch, and they'll have come from their breakfast. That's why they're just gonna have coffee So my kind of prediction was right and logical. And the next thing, they will be actually met by a tour operator who has dealt with the theater manager to meet later, and the tour operator is also going to show the National Theater. So there is no an employee at the National Theater. He's going to show the National Theater, and he's talked to the theater manager, and he's welcoming us. So as I've predicted, C is the correct answer. And but this one I didn't get lucky because the normal rate is 150 euros. He thought he could make it down to 120, but he could negotiate further and make it like 110. So the answer is A. And they said a typical restaurant of the region wouldn't be like suitable for everyone, because I think it would gives them so much of a, I don't know, like meat. And he like some people like me chose the Italian one. He said but, which means this is not the answer, He chose a Lebanese restaurant by himself, and he explained his answer by saying that you can go to an Italian restaurant, back home. But you cannot go to a Lebanese restaurant, when you're, like when you've returned home. Now, who will they meet on Wednesday afternoon? So this is my the logic, as you can see, proved to be opposite. So they're going to meet the theater director in the evening, but they said, because that's why I was writing the word evening here. But he will talk about how he chooses the actors, which means actor is not an answer. It's just a I don't know, like trap that was set for you. And he will also talk about how he works with playwrights, which means they will only meet the theater director, so that the answer is C. So that's how you need to solve the multiple choice questions. That's how you need to analyze after you've solved, and that's how sure you need to be to find all the answers. You just need to understand. And this is the best way. The other ways around, like the I don't know, things you may hear in other lessons and by other teachers, I totally approve them, but I still cannot, ignore the fact that if you don't understand 100%, there is a strong possibility that you are going to be misled. So misled, or maybe. And now let's just try one more, because that was an easy one. Now this section 3 is supposed to be more difficult. So what about this one? Let's just do whatever we did like last time. I'm gonna read one question, find the most important part, paraphrase it, and find the keyword. So James chose to take Scandinavian studies because he was a child, when he was a child, which means that I need the reason why he chose the Scandinavian studies. So I paraphrased, and the most important word is like I think because I need the reason, and the keyword is when he was a child, right, at this exact time. Now, when he graduates, James would like to. So, which means after he finishes university, what does he want to do? And the most important part is would like, but the keyword is when he graduates, right? And which course will end this term? So, what course will be ended in this term? So this like just one single question. I think I don't have to, put this in separate parts because it's too short already. Now they agree that James' literature paper this term will be on. Now the two people, the both speakers, think that his topic of the literature paper will be something. And the most important thing is agree. They both need to have the same opinion. And keywords is like literature paper, I think. Now, Beth recommends that James' paper should be. Now, this girl recommends him to have, I don't know, like, to do something with his paper. And the most important part is like Beth is recommending, and keyword is like, no, sorry. The most important part is should be, and the keyword is recommends. Now, we've understood the questions. It's time to read now, ABC. He was often taken to Denmark. So which means he visited, he was taken to Denmark. So this the taken is like the most important word. His mother spoke to him in Danish. So the most important part is his mother for me, like because I can remember it. A number of Danish people visited his family, which means Danish people. Now I just need to find the difference between answers. He literally went by himself to Denmark in the first one, only his mother spoke in the second one, and other people like from Denmark came to him. That's the third one. Now, took a postgraduate course. Take a postgraduate course. So postgraduate master's degree is the most important thing. Work in the media. So in the media, I think a keyword. So he's going to work. Become a translator. The translator is like obviously the most important thing here. He wants to work. But in the first one, in the media, like a journalist. The second one is a translator or interpreter. Now, here in the A1 Swedish cinema, so it's the main focus is on cinema. The Danish television programs, so I think it's also cinema, but television programs, or I can also highlight Danish. So cinema and television programs are a little bit different from each other. Scandinavian literature, now this one's literature. So which means cinema, television programs, and literature. 19th century playwrights, so these are people. Icelandic sagas, I don't know what this sagas is, maybe it's a type of genre. Modern Scandinavian novels, so it's about modern novels, not 19th century, there's a difference. And in the 25th one, a historical overview of the genre, so like background of this genre here if he wants to learn, in-depth analysis of a single writer. So in analysis and single is like important. He's going to talk about only one writer and he's going to analyze with lots of details. Now, social background to literature. Now it's about I think how the social background of a writer affects his work or something like that. So in this one, historical overview is just historical background. This one is social background, so that's difference. So you need to be able to tell the difference so that you will not be confused by one or the other. You will know exactly what to look for. If you're ready, let's just solve this one. So test 3. Sorry, section 3, right?
Section 2. You will hear a man talking to a group of people about a tour of theatres in the city.
Section 3.
Section 3. You will hear James, who is in the Scandinavian.
If you're ready, just pay close attention and solve this one because this is the last task that we are doing together.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Oh, good morning. You must be James. I'm Beth Cartwright. Please call me Beth.
Thank you.
Now, as this is your first tutorial since you started on the Scandinavian Studies course, I'd like to find out something about you.
Why did you decide to take this course?
Well, my mother is Danish, and although we always lived in England, she used to talk about her home a lot, and that made me want to visit Denmark. We hardly ever did, though. My mother usually went on her own. But whenever her relations or friends were in England, they always came to see us.
I see. So I assume you already speak Danish, one of the languages you'll be studying?
I can get by when I talk to people, though I'm not terribly accurate.
Now, you probably know that you'll spend the third year of the course abroad. Have you had any thoughts about that?
I'm really looking forward to it. And although Denmark seems the obvious place to go because of my family connections, I'd love to spend the time in Iceland.
Oh, I'm sure it can be arranged. Do you have any plans for when you graduate? A lot of students go on to take a master's degree.
I think the 4 years of the undergraduate course will be enough for me. I'm interested in journalism, and I quite like the idea of moving to Scandinavia and writing for magazines. I'd find that more creative than translating, which I suppose most graduates do.
Okay. Now, how are you finding the courses you're taking this term, James?
Well, I'm really enjoying the one on Swedish cinema.
That'll continue next term. But the one on Scandinavian literature that's running at the moment will be replaced by more specialized courses. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in watching Danish television programs, there's going to be a course on that the term after next.
That sounds good.
Have you started thinking about the literature paper that you have to write in the next few weeks?
Yes, my first choice would be to do something on the Icelandic sagas.
The trouble with that is that a lot of people choose that topic, and it can be difficult to get hold of the books you'll need. Why not leave that for another time?
Right.
You might find modern novels or 19th century playwrights interesting.
I've read or seen several plays in translation, so that would be a good idea.
Fine. I'll put you down for that topic.
Right, so what would you advise me to aim at in the paper?
First, I suggest you avoid taking one writer and going into a great deal of detail. That approach certainly has its place, but I think you first need to get an understanding of the literature in the context of the society in which it was produced, who it was written for, how it was published, and so on. I also think that's more fruitful than placing it within the history of the genre.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
So now they've finished, talking about answers already. This time, as I suggested to you guys, I was trying to challenge myself. I didn't take any notes. I just started, listened attentively, and tried to remember. So let's just solve it together and explain for the last time. And if you haven't been able to find any answer, this is the time to go back, because I'm really gonna tell the answers now. Now, James chose to take Scandinavian studies because his mother is Danish, but she never talked. No, first of all, they never they always lived in England. Only his mother went to Denmark. She didn't take him, and his mother didn't speak to him in Danish, so which means A and B is incorrect. But whenever her relations from Denmark who live in England came in, like they visited his family, which means the answer is C. Now 22. Many students they want to take a master's degree, but he doesn't. He said 4 years will be enough, and he said he really wants to be a journalist and work for the Scandinavian magazine, and I think it will be more exciting than becoming a translator. So, which means he doesn't like translators, so C is incorrect too. The answer is B. And which course will this term end? He was talking about the Swedish cinema first, but then she said it will continue next term, which means it's not an answer. And she said, however, Scandinavian literature will be replaced by some, more specific topic. So which means C is the answer. And what has been mentioned about Danish television programs is that it's going to start next semester. No, not this term. Now, 24th, he actually wanted to choose B, the Icelandic sagas, but the tutor suggested him, changing his mind because it's a really common topic, so he cannot get hold of the books. But he can go easier to the modern Scandinavian novels and 19th century playwrights. So I think that wasn't. Maybe I didn't understand clearly, or it wasn't so much clear on this. But it's more preferably A, because she gave two answers and he approved like right after that, which means he was talking about the second one. The order was 19th century second. So A. And in the 25th one, the in-depth analysis of a single writer has been rejected at first, and then they were talking about the society, which means social already, and like how it came, why it came, and so on. And she said it will be better than just looking at in terms of history of the genre. So which means it's not A either. So the answer is C. So as you can see, guys, in order to solve multiple choice questions, conclusion to our lesson is like, anyways, the most important thing is your understanding. If you really want to find all the answers and if you want to feel at ease with this type of question. And another thing that is important is attention, because for example, my phone rang like, I don't know, like several times, and I was disturbed by a phone call and somebody entering the room. That's why, I had some, I don't know, like focus breaks, distractions. But when that can easily happen. I mean, you can start thinking about something, I don't know, uh, related to your result, or like something about the next part or the previous part. This is the most common mistakes that people do in like multiple choice questions. But as I can normally, regain my attention and focus, I just got back to it. But I wouldn't recommend you to do anything similar. Just try to focus all your attention to the question, and whenever the answer has been told, just choose ABC. Don't be reading ABC. This distracts you. Just pay attention to the question. As long as you hear the answer, choose ABC. That's all. And in order to do that, please understand word by word. And to make it more interesting and more straightforward to deal with, I would like to suggest some, strategies. First of all, just try to, what do we say, solve. The second step, try to solve without the answers, like Diorbeck tutor, like Mr. Diorbeck instructed. And then try to deal with this type of question without writing anything. I mean, still questions, but without writing. Just try to remember, and then just even close the questions and answers, like just listen and try to solve, for example, the first one question without looking, and then just start to solve like two questions without looking even at the questions, or neither questions nor the answers. Then just do the full part. And once you master that skill, like, I mean, things will start, getting better and better. You'll start understanding and remembering at the same time. And so this kind of, the most challenging type of question will become a piece of cake. So what I want you to do is just to, work on yourself, your own skills, and improve your understanding. That's the most important part I need to, talk about. So this has been our focus of this lesson. Now, if anything was helpful for you guys, I'd really be grateful. So share this with any of your friends or acquaintances that are having problems with this type of test. And if you have any questions, please, write them in the comments or on Telegram or my, special group. Thank you for your attention. See you next time.